Hello, everyone. I am so excited to announce that Latinx Therapy has partnered with a subdivision of the Postpartum Support International. And this subdivision is called Perinatal Mental Health Alliance for People of Color. I want you all to know that this episode will be released in Spanish next week. And this partnership and segment is really important for me on a very personal basis. If you all heard my trailer starting from back in 2018, then you know that I was pregnant at a very young age and that I suffered from postpartum depression. When my son was born, I was 19 years old, and he was born with a lot of obvious stress from his time in the womb. And I won't go details into that. He's turning 14 in 2 weeks. Although he is turning 14 in a few weeks, and there has been so much progress, a lot of that stress from the perinatal time, from when he was in the womb, was absorbed in his mental health. And you'll also know that I didn't know that I was experiencing postpartum depression. At the time, what I remember is that my parents, I don't think they knew the name or the term for it, but they knew that something was wrong because when my son was born, I wouldn't leave the room. I don't remember too well, but what I remember was a lot of darkness. I think I was staying in the room pretty dark. I didn't want to even eat. They would invite me out to take walks, or they would actually invite me out to eat. And my parents don't have, or they didn't have a lot of money. And so that's why I mentioned, like, they would invite me out to eat because to our family, that's like crazy to do so often. But I think that was their way of trying to get me out and try to help me with the very little ways that they knew how. So that's a little bit as to why this topic and this partnership, this organization means a lot to me. I found out about them when I was in graduate school, and their resources since then, because I graduated graduate school in 2015, have just grown immensely. And so today we're going to talk about some of that expansion. And I'm going to go ahead and read off of my notes because I want to make sure that you get the details of this organization correctly. So, the Perinatal Mental Health Alliance for People of Color bridges the gap in perinatal mental health support services by expanding its reach to Latinx and Spanish speaking community with their Alliance Spanish and Cultural program. Representation in perinatal mental health field matters and improves the outcome when cultural congruency exists between the client and the provider. That is why Postpartum Support International, PSI, is excited to announce that they are actually having their first in person perinatal mood disorder components of care and advanced psychotherapy training in Espanol at the PSI conference, and that will be in July 24th to the 25th, and also on the 28th. The link will be in the show notes. And I'm excited to introduce to you all my guests for today, who are two members of this alliance and my colleagues. So the first is Carla Cardosa, licensed marriage and family therapist, and she is also the manager of the Spanish hotline and volunteer coordinators in all Spanish-speaking countries. She's a facilitator of the perinatal support meetings in Spanish and one of the speakers of the PSI training specifically. She does own her own private practice in which she incorporates postpartum care using traditional Mexican medicine and prenatal and postnatal yoga as well, which is really awesome. And we also speak with Xochitl Carlos Mendez, who is the Alliance Spanish Cultural Program Manager of the Perinatal Mental Health Alliance for People of Color at PSI. She is a dedicated leader that has spearheaded many outreach efforts across Spanish-speaking countries, and you're going to hear more about both of their efforts throughout the show. Xochitl has created strategic alliances with global organizations and perinatal providers. Upon immigrating to the United States, her advocacy efforts shifted towards the intersection of women, survivors of domestic violence, mental health, and immigrant communities. Okay, so let's now transition into the segment, and please be sure to share this episode and stay tuned for the Spanish version. And let's welcome our guests for today. We have Carla. Hola, Carla. Hi.
Hola, ¿cómo estamos?
Estamos muy bien. We will go ahead and bring in Xochitl.
Hi, Adri. Thank you for inviting us.
Hola. Thank you both so much for joining and for starting this partnership with Latinx Therapy. I'm very excited overall to have met you both and to be doing this episode because I really think that organizations doing great work for our community need to be amplified. And once we collaborate together, I think that's how this work gets to be recognized, right?
Adri, it's a pleasure being sitting in this space with you and with my colleague, Xochitl.
I'm really excited, Adri, for this collaboration. I feel that after this, we're gonna reach so many people who are interested in this field and who wanna know a little bit more about perinatal mental health.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Let's start learning what is going on, why we're doing this, why we're here. Carla, I want to go ahead and start with you and ask you what is the importance about the existence of your role? And we have here in your tagline that you are PSI's Spanish Helpline Manager. So if you can tell us
Yes.
a little bit more about that role.
So for all of those who are wondering, like, what is PSI? So usually that's the acronym for Postpartum Support International, and that's what we use all the time. Did you call PSI? Call PSI. When I came to PSI, I was a volunteer. I was pretty much finishing grad school back in 2016, if I remember correctly. It's been a couple of years already. I was very interested in supporting the perinatal mental health field. And maybe at that time it was more known as maternal mental health. There wasn't a very solid coordinator or supervisor managing the small group of volunteers at that time managing the Spanish helpline. And so we went through some transitions, not just with coworkers or other volunteers, but also through the phone system. We didn't have a support system, a phone system that could actually work for our needs. And that's how, in a way, I became little by little just more formal employee at PSI to be able to manage the development and the training of volunteers supporting the helpline, whether help seekers, whether they're moms, fathers, providers are calling the helpline or sending a text or now sending an online form so that we can connect with them, provide some resources, be an ear, showing up for them virtually so that they can tell us a little bit about their struggles with perinatal mental health, the transition to motherhood, maybe the struggles they're experiencing through pregnancy, or maybe the struggles they're going through after a loss of a baby or a child. And so the volunteers are here to listen to them and validate and connect them with resources in Spanish in particular.
So the Spanish portion within PSI didn't formally exist prior to you.
It was kind of like semi-formal, but I think it was still very evolving. It was still evolving. I think even one of the volunteers who's been with us for maybe over 10 years has seen the difference of where it was before. Maybe we didn't have all the structure at that time. And I think all the different programs at PSI were still developing, a lot of them. So I think there was still a lot of work in progress. And with the proper support from the executive director, Wendy Davis, and other co-workers, I feel like all the various programs at PSI have evolved, but I think especially we have put all our emphasis and energy in growing and expanding the Spanish language programs.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense for a growing organization trying to fulfill the needs. So thank you for that explanation. And Xochitl, in regards to your role, what is the impact that you have noticed? What I've learned about it, your role is global. It's worldwide reach. And so you are the Alliance Spanish Cultural Program Manager. Can you tell us about that and the impact?
Yes, absolutely. As Carla say, PSI has grown so much in the last couple of years that they got to the point that they need someone to just expand their efforts to Latin America. So that is how my role was funded. I'm the Alliance Spanish Cultural Program Manager, and I oversee all the strategic alliance across US, but in Latin America, and mainly in Latin America, because we have found the need to connect, to collaborate, to join efforts across many organizations who works in the maternal mental health field. So my role is, I will say, is really beneficial, but also rewarding for me because I'm just put together the dots to connect with organizations, to just join efforts. So one of the main activities that we do through the alliance is use the social media to reach out more people. We know the social media is one of the most important ways to communicate. So we are joining efforts through a communications team to reach out more families, more parents who are in need and are looking for more information about maternal mental health. So through my work in this field, I have found so much organizations that are helping us just to develop this strategic alliance, but also to learn from each other. So as I say, it's very rewarding this role that I'm doing right now because I just joining the dots. I'm connected with organizations across US, Latin America, but also in Spain. So something that I have found is we need to be connected. We need to be on the same page. So I'm doing that. I just putting everyone together and look how we can, join efforts to the benefit of the families.
That's wonderful. And I think that from when we last spoke, you also shared that the role that you carry emphasizes working with the professionals that are working with the people in the community, the parents. And so it just feels like everybody is trying to create something new within the organization or enhance what has already been there, but continue to grow with the growing needs of the community.
I would like to add that when I first started, I think mainly the volunteers in the Spanish helpline live within the United States. Little by little, as we have expanded, and especially with the development of our pages on Instagram and Facebook for the Spanish language programs in particular, we are reaching more professionals in Mexico, Central America, South America, and even Spain. We have increased, and at some point that we had volunteers, we call them coordinator volunteers in these regions in Latin America, and we have all come together to be able to support families who reach out. The first connector is the helpline. So whenever there's a mom in need in Mexico, Costa Rica, Argentina, Panama, let's say, we call support for our volunteers in these regions, in these countries. And they are also the connector and the bridge with that family so that they can talk to them, they can provide some education, maybe referrals. And I think the other piece that is super important with Xochitl's role is the development of more trainings and awareness of the trainings that we have. As you know, we are also offering the 2-day components of care in Spanish to be able to bring this knowledge to more professionals across the different fields of professionalism so that they could be informed about what is perinatal mental health, what are the signs to look for, so that even more nurses, doctors, coaches, doulas, parteras, midwives, psychologists can be trained in this field and be able to support and also have more referrals whenever we need to connect a mom with psychological services. Now we have also a mini directory within PSI and within the Latin America countries to be able to say, okay, call so and so, right? And so that's also how we've been able to expand more volunteers reaching out to be part of the Spanish helpline or also be a coordinator, well, a volunteer in their region, and also specialized coordinators in a particular topic of interest for moms and families.
Yeah, so I think you're alluding to a little bit of the following question that I had for each of you in regards to what services are included within La Alianza. Because for everybody that's watching, I know we have the title here for Perinatal Mental Health Alliance for People of Color at PSI. In Spanish is La Alianza. I'll go with you, Sochi. What are other services that are offered within La Alianza?
As the Alliance understand how training sometimes is a privilege, we are committed to provide scholarship and fellowship to all the providers who are interested in learn and develop their skills around maternal mental health. That is one of the goals that we have as the Alliance, but also we have a membership, we have support groups, we have Tejiendo Encuentros, that is an online space we just bring together with some providers who talk about many different topics about maternal mental health. We can talk about like grieving, nutrition, kids development. We talk about like infertility. We just are looking for the space to provide information to every provider who are looking at Tejiendo Encuentros. So you can find this information in our YouTube channel. You can look in PSI, or you can look in social media, Instagram, La Alianza en español, PSI, or Perinatal Mental Health Alliance for People of Colors. That are our three main accounts.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And so I'll ask the same question to Carla, because again, you were emphasizing on your department. And so, Carla, within La Alianza now, what are some of the other services that are available to the community? And from my understanding, they are free to the community. I know that Xochitl was mentioning that there's a cost for the trainings and that there is financial assistance available.
Well, even for professionals who are in a transformative journey of becoming a parent, oftentimes they are also the ones seeking support from our support systems. In the Spanish helpline, we provide a very small peer support, which means that a volunteer will follow up with this particular family for 3 weeks to make sure that they receive the link for the support groups. But now we call it encuentros, but it's support groups, and making sure that the link function for them, that they didn't have any trouble registering. If we were to provide referrals for counseling or therapy, that they were able to connect with that particular therapist. We are also connecting them with if the family who's reaching out lives outside the United States, then we connect them with a volunteer in that particular country, whether it's Honduras, Argentina, Guatemala, Mexico, for example. And we are also now having our Spanish language peer mentor program. This is a more formalized peer mentor, and it lasts 4 months. The peer is going to be paired with a mentor who had a lived experience of perinatal mental health, whether the person suffered from a loss, anxiety, depression, and have been in a recovery journey for over a year. They can become a mentor to a parent who's going through something similar. So we have the Spanish helpline, so volunteers who are connecting with moms who reach out via phone, text, or online forms. We have volunteers in Spanish language countries, and we also have the peer mentor program as well, group facilitators and specialized coordinators as well.
The way I learned about your department was through Instagram. I had been seeing a lot of postpartum support internationals groups. They have been really emphasizing, and this is just in general outside of La Alianza, right? PSI for short, the support groups that are being offered at no cost, which as a mental health professional is something that we really circulate a lot to our clients and to people, because I also understand that this organization is LGBTQ plus affirming. And so they have support groups for birthing parents, and they don't just emphasize that these programs are for mothers only. And so it's been really wonderful to see the diversity from all the departments, or most of the departments that I've been seeing around on Instagram. So I'm really glad that you all have expanded and are doing this work, uniting together.
When I first started, Adri, there was only one perinatal support group in Spanish. We have now a total of 18, 19 support groups, and there's one recently that's starting pretty soon for diverse families in Spanish. We also feel like there is a need to expand on our services. And I forgot to mention that not only are our groups are free, but they're also virtual. So they can be joining from the comfort of their house, in pajamas, carrying the baby, maybe cooking, maybe running to the grocery store if that's sometimes the need. But it's a wonderful space that we are creating so that families can be seen and heard.
And this question would be then for both of you in regards to the virtual component. Is there an in-person component to the services being offered?
We don't have in-person like services. Everything is online. We understand that sometimes, becoming a mother is really challenging. So, leave the house and move to clinic, the practice, and whatever other place is really challenging. So we try to be as flexible as we can and provide everything online. So in the comfort of your house and your couch, as Carla says, so everything is online, including the trainings. Well, we have trainings in person, and we're gonna have our first in-person training in Spanish in our next conference that is gonna be in DC. But I'm gonna let Carla do this because I know this is very excited for her.
I'm so thrilled. I was gonna say that the only in-person service that we are able to provide at the moment are the trainings, but I'm super, super excited that this particular year, 2024, we are doing our first in-person 2 day components of care training in Espanol, in Spanish, in Washington, D.C., as part of the pre-conference event. So we're really thrilled. And we are hoping to do another one sometime this year. We just don't know the dates yet. And most likely one more virtual too. So those are the only ones that we're offering in person.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much. As we're wrapping up here, where can people learn more about you each?
Please follow our social media. In Facebook, you can find us as The Alliance or La Alianza. Instagram, The Alliance and La Alianza. You can find both accounts. And in YouTube, you will find multiple videos. Also, I just want to take a minute just to share a little bit about our upcoming forum that is going to be in May. So we are receiving proposals this year during this month. If you want to join us, you have any topic around maternal mental health or perinatal mental health, please see our information in social media. You can send the proposals and you can be publicized during our forum in Maternal Mental Health Week.
And that would be for professionals of any background, of any industry?
Yes, but we have in the call the proposals, we have three main topics. Then one is psychiatric field, the second is peer support, and the third one is about advocacy and new laws in Latin America on Spanish speaking countries.
So we'll be sure to link that post in the description below.
And for me, I have a professional page on Instagram and on the webs. I can share that with you. But you can also send me an email at carla@postpartum.net should you want to learn more specifically about all the work that I get to do with PSI as well. And I'm a holistic practitioner here in California that I also provide postpartum care to families. And so that's the other piece that I do here too.
Carla is also a provider on the directory, latinxtherapy.com. And I'm going to go ahead and show the website here below, postpartum.net/la-alianza, if you would like to learn more about the upcoming conference, all the services that were mentioned, and where to reach them both. So I'll also drop this in the show notes. What I also want to mention to everybody watching is that we are about to record this episode also in Spanish. So if you know folks that would benefit from having this information in Spanish, which is what La Alianza at PSI specializes in, please stay tuned and share not just this episode, but also the upcoming one. Muchas gracias, Xochitl. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.